Okay, so I mean, I guess that's about as good as it's gonna get for my desktop because my actual desktop is kind of dirty right now. I gotta be honest.
Oh, you don't want us to see your actual desktop?
No, because I've got a bunch of
Like,
random shit.
you're not a folder guy.
I
Is that what
am
you're doing?
usually, but right now I'm not.
I just saw a file, which was my thesis from like 6 years ago. It was on my desktop. I was like, oh shit,
Oh,
that's cool. I should look at that
how'd
again.
that make you feel?
Scared because I didn't want to open it. I was like, what did I do in the past? I'm nervous about the quality of my. It's like, I guess, actors who don't want to hear themselves act or see themselves act. I'm like,
I know what you mean.
Geophysics. I want to see myself geophysics.
Or hearing yourself talk. I've always hated that. I sound so much in my head than I do in real life.
Totally.
Yeah, I do. It's weird. I do too.
I wish you guys could hear what I sound like to myself.
Same. I was thinking that the other day.
Well, maybe once like Neuralink gets off the ground, then we can just have thought waves transmitted via Bluetooth, and maybe you can even like choose how you want your voice to sound.
Yeah, I wouldn't use my voice if I could choose any voice. I'd probably be, I don't know, maybe Morgan Freeman. Or I would change it depending on the mood that I was trying to convey.
I always thought it'd be cool. Well, I always thought, like, colors. I was like, what if you perceive colors differently, and you never knew? Like, I guess it has wavelengths, so like, whatever. But
but your mind in the body.
Yeah, like say you interpreted it differently.
Interpreted it. So
like blue is actually blue everywhere. It's just like when people say like, oh, red's more aggressive, like people who don't think red's aggressive are actually seeing a different color in their head. Or like green or something. But really, like red always means aggression or something. I don't know.
Or
are you high? Are you high, Josh?
No. Hey, you guys brought up the subject matter. This is just things I've thought a lot about.
I think Josh.
I don't think you're high.
Yeah.
Has been on taking shrooms. I'm going to say.
I think it's that Houston chaos, baby.
Dude, I know. It's
getting to your head.
Man, at work, I had calls where literally everyone I've worked with has had power outages except for me. Or they've been on vacation. So, like, they came back from vacation. And, yeah.
My cousin's been living in a hotel for the last, 4 days.
In Houston?
Wow.
He lives in San Antonio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow. We lost our water.
That's
for today, but it's back. But it's like the color of well hydrated urine. So I haven't showered. That's why I'm wearing this beanie. Yeah, I showered. So I've now worked out twice without showering in the same body, which doesn't feel right. But you know what, Wayne? I think you have a meme related to this. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
Yes, I do. Yes. Give me one.
We didn't plan it. I mean, we didn't plan this ahead of time. Yeah, it's just. I mean.
So we're gonna let's make this into a segment. We're gonna call it Meme of the Day.
Meme of the Day.
And I will
subscribe to our daily mail.
Okay.
It's physical mail.
Are you guys seeing that? You see it?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, you guys can all read it, but it's basically people of Texas. Because of the power outages, I have canceled my vacation to Cancun. I shall not leave while so many are still without power. Hey, you, get that slow drum out of the Senate office. So basically, the story behind that is Ted Cruz was sighted on a plane and in the airport going to Cancun. And people were like, what the heck? Why is he going to Cancun whenever people are literally freezing to death and no one has power? Huge state of emergency in Texas. Way worse than it is in Oklahoma. And he didn't want to admit that he left, so he tried to just not answer or say anything. But people kept asking him, so he finally admitted that he's on his the next flight back. So I mean, it's
Or
really
is
just
he?
funny.
Yeah,
I'm hearing that he's on the next flight back.
When did this break? The news about Ted Cruz.
I heard about it today.
I heard about it today too.
Broke yesterday. I think
okay.
people were really paying attention found out about it yesterday.
The reason I ask is John Oliver did a segment last week with like 30 seconds on Ted Cruz, and his quote was, "Dead eyes, empty hearts, Ted Cruz." Like Texas Forever. Oh man, Texas Forever. Like Friday Night Lights. Dude, have you guys seen Friday Night Lights?
Hold on. I'm like 3 steps behind. What is Texas Forever?
All right. Y'all need to watch this TV series. It's called Friday Night Lights. All of it is great. Yep. It was popular for a little bit. There was one really bad season where it was during the writer's strike. So things don't really make sense in that season with the rest of the series. But it's like they don't do anything like groundbreaking. It's all like normal drama you'd see in the show like that.
How do they do plumbing then?
Plumbing.
If you can't break the ground, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I've heard of it. What's the Texas Forever bit?
One of their sayings is "Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose," because they're a football team. That's what they say before a game. And the two main characters, they just one of their sayings. They go Texas Forever, Texas Forever.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway,
so I assume that the Friday Night Lights are in Texas, right?
Yeah. So Friday Night Lights is a reference to
basketball. Oh,
right. Basketball.
In high school, football games are played generally on Fridays.
Right. Yeah. So high school football games.
Obviously, I'm a guy who went to a lot of football games.
Of course, you did.
I was in the band, so I had to. I didn't have a choice.
I went to all my high school football games. We saw. Remember Ryan? He's in the NFL.
Scheckler.
No. OU. Ryan. I forget. Never mind.
He's a big famous guy.
Yeah, big famous guy. I think he's retired now. But the saying in Friday Night Lights is "Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose," and then John Oliver goes, "Dead eyes, empty hearts, Ted Cruz."
Now I get it. Good.
I mean, he was just like, I don't like being cold. Forget these poor people over here. I'm gonna.
Maybe this is shallow, but I think Cancun is kind of a basic vacation destination. Is that bad to say?
That's fair.
It's kind of basic.
There, so
I haven't been there.
Dude, if I could go to Cancun right now, I would go. So
yeah, I would too.
Only real reason I'm hating on Ted Cruz is because he was trying to duck on it. He should have just been like, "Yeah, I win."
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Anyone would fault him.
No, I mean, let's be honest. He already had the trip planned. I don't know how much vacation time you get. Is the Senate in recess right now? Is that the idea? So that's why he's on vacation?
Basically, anyone in Congress gets like a crap ton of vacation time.
Oh, okay.
Dumb amounts. Like, I'm talking, I haven't had that much actual vacation time since I was in like high school.
Wow. Trump like golf like every other day? Something like that, like some ridiculous amount.
Look, I need to get in the government just so I can have some time off. Like, for real.
I know. My dad had off President's Day. I was pretty jealous. Which that's a weird holiday because, I mean, let's be frank. If you become president, you're gonna get all the press and acknowledgement that you need. And I don't think when you lump them all together, what difference does it make? You're only gonna think about the presidents in recent memory. You're not gonna reflect on contributions of Franklin Pierce. So it's like, what's the point? So just do they just want to have another federal holiday? Oh, non sequitur. Ted Cruz will actually he's relevant to a topic that we'll talk about a little bit later. So keep that in mind. Ted Cruz. He's also very man, so I know for a fact he's a very smart guy. Went to a great law school, editor of the Law Journal. He was like kind of one of those savant law guys, but for someone that intelligent, he makes a lot of blunders. So I guess the what's wrong with this is that he didn't come back.
It's not that he didn't come back. It's more so that people were asking, "Hey, where's Ted Cruz at? Is he here? We need, leadership and blah 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 blah." And his office, no one was answering.
No.
People just
they didn't want it to come out.
They didn't want to say anything about it. My theory is they were wanting to just say something along the lines like, if he could get on a flight back and they could just stall for however many hours it takes to go from Cancun to Texas or wherever he needs to go.
It's like 3.
That's it.
So I think the big problem was he couldn't get a flight for a long time or something for whatever reason. Like the weather was messing up flights, so he couldn't get back. So they finally, after like a day or so, were finally like, all right, he's in Texas. I mean, he's in Cancun.
Yeah.
When they would have said, no, he's in Texas. He's not in Cancun.
Yeah.
Now.
But he's taking a nap, and he naps about 3 hours. So he'll come talk to you then. Josh, is Ted Cruz beloved by Texans? I'm not asking for your personal political opinions, but do they like him?
I think outside of Dallas, Austin, Houston, and San Antonio, they like him.
Okay.
And then like maybe half in those cities.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So like an Amarillan pro Ted Cruz, more likely than not.
Probably.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So really Ted Cruz just yeah. So Ted Cruz really just, I mean, it was just kind of unfortunate. And then maybe like his team didn't handle it very well. Is that the idea?
I think if you were a good leader, you wouldn't have gone though.
Oh, you don't take vacation. No days off, right? Days off.
No, you take days off, but I honestly don't think I would have gone. I don't think you would have gone. I don't think Josh would have gone. I don't think most normal people who even care a little bit would have gone.
I might have gone. I'm not gonna lie.
I can go to I don't know. I don't think you would have actually gone. You probably would think I can go to Cancun anytime I want.
But I planned it with my family for the past, like, I was in Congress. We just like fought the Democrats on this thing and we lost. I need a break, man. I'm going to Cancun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, I'll just own up to it right away and be like, yeah, I was tired and I wanted to go to Cancun.
Yeah.
But I'm already trying to come back.
Right.
You have to make it seem like you're already on your way back.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, Josh, your wife took a vacation during terrible rolling blackouts and ice storms. That seems like a weird coincidence, if you don't mind me divulging that information.
I was going to say the day before the ice storm hit, they went to Florida.
Do I need to bleep her name? I mean, what are our standards here?
It's fine, I think.
Okay. They don't know which is married to which Josh Hardesty.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
Fine until you said the last name.
It says in the Zoom thing. We have all of our.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh yeah, true.
We should probably take those off at some point. Okay. So welcome to another episode of Heat That Moves. HTM, and I had a shower thought earlier, but I wasn't in the shower. We could call it Hit 'em. HTM, Hit 'em. I think that's a pretty good.
Hit 'em Hardesty. Hit 'em Hardesty's corner.
Whoa! Hit 'em Hardesty's
Dallas's corner.
Or Dallas's.
Hit 'em Hardesty's got that alliteration though. I like that. Hit 'em Hardesty. Whoa. Okay. Speaking of Hit 'em Hardesty has a little bit of this podcast first and foremost is about life and business. Second, it's about whatever else we're going to talk about. And one of those things we're going to talk about is Josh has a little cultural recommendation for us. So Hit 'em Hardesty, you want to tell us what you're about and why we should be about it too?
Yeah. So, I've been quarantined, obviously, like the rest of you. And, I've kind of already used up all of my. I've just gotten tired of like Netflix and Amazon. Like still good, but just every once in a while, I've just watched most things. So I was looking for a new media to enjoy, and I was like podcasts. And I thought I mostly listened to like fiction, and I've had Audible. So I thought, I wanted to get back, and to kind of expand my, just what I listen to. So I got into fiction, audiobooks using Audible. And one guy I really liked, his name's Andrew Rowe, and he wrote a short story called "How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps."
Ooh, it's kind of a fun title, isn't it? I'm gonna find it on Audible.
Yeah, and I was like, that's cool.
Wow. How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps?
Super simple.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, 10 super.
It sounds like an anime name.
So
anime.
Yeah. I used to not. I went for about a lot of years, because someone recommended or suggested that to just listen to or read and listen to fiction. I mean, sorry, nonfiction, because stuff that happens and you can learn from the past, whatever. And then I thought, that's dumb. I get my creativity gets stimulated by fiction a lot, so I started reading fiction. Anyway, so listen to this audiobook, How to Defeat a Demon King, and it's about a girl who has found this magical a bag that you can put just anything you want into it. That's their magic power. People in this universe, they have magic powers. You get a little, like, you could shoot fire, shoot ice. Hers is she can store stuff really well. And right. And so it's about her. Yeah, and it's looked down upon. Like normally, in that universe, they have like you're known as like the essentially do the work of like a donkey. You just carry the bags for someone who's traveling or something.
Drug mule. I mean, that's a lot of cocaine.
Yeah,
potentially.
So anyway, it's her and her journey on how she defeats this demon king. What I really liked about it was, after this, I looked into Andrew Rowe as an author, and he's written a couple trilogies that are all interconnected. So it's my entry into this world where he kind of built this magic system that was pretty interesting. People, if you read reviews by him, a common theme is that his magic system is just very thorough, and he's thought about how things should work. It's very interesting, very detailed. I definitely recommend it to anyone who's interested in some sort of like fantasy, non-visual product.
All right,
Wayne, you like nerdy stuff. How does this sound to you?
It sounds pretty cool. Actually, one more time, what was the name of the author?
Andrew Rowe. Andrew and then Rowe.
And was this How to Defeat a Demon King? Was that the first book that he wrote, or if you read it in chronological order, what would be the first thing that you would read?
Right. So that's interesting, because if you read it in chronological order, it probably won't. It would make sense, but it kind of skips around because the 3 trilogies happen in similar times. But like maybe one book will happen, then another book will happen, and then whoever's the main character will go back to the original, or whatever was in that first trilogy. So they're kind of interconnected. The first trilogy the first book he wrote, the first trilogy is called Forging Divinity, and the trilogy is The War of Broken Mirrors. I just finished the 3rd one.
Forging Divinity.
So this is this was your introduction into this universe and author. Having read more now, do you stand by this as the best introduction to this universe and this author?
I think so. Having that short story, because most of his books are 15 plus hours, which was good for me.
Actually,
I'm looking at this one. It's 5.5. I have 1 credit available. What do you think? Should I do it?
It costs a credit?
Oh, wait. Should it be free?
I think it was free when I got it. That's why I listened to it.
Hey. So you're saying it's not, so it's not worth a credit, but if you
just 5 hours. I guess it's one. It's like all contained into one, so it might be worth it. So, tip on Audible. Also, Amazon, if you want to sponsor our podcast,
Actually, since we're talking about apps. I have an app that I actually really love, and I think you guys should check out. It's called Libby. Libby. So if you have,
sounds a little political to me.
It's not. I know I'm a super political dude, but this is not political.
Okay.
So Libby is an app where if you have a library card, you put your library card into the app, like the library card number, and then it allows you to check out books, and that's like books, so you can read them on your iPad or your phone or whatever, and then also audiobooks. And you can listen to them. And you can.
That's amazing.
I want to say you can probably like rent at least 3, maybe 3 to 10. I'm actually not sure. I've only really done 3 at one time, personally. But you rent. The only problem I have with it is you rent things for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone else is waiting to like check it out, then if you don't read it or listen to it in that week, then you have to give it up and then you have to like check it out again when they're done with it.
Whoa.
That's the only real catch to it, but I love it. And if you find a good book that no one else is like trying to get, you can extend.
Cool.
So it's really cool, and you get access to a lot of stuff. So I've listened to quite a few pretty good books, and I've read a few as well on Libby. So check that out.
That's a twofer. That's fascinating that only one person. It's almost like they buy licenses.
I think that's what happens. The library.
That's crazy.
And I think usually it's not that only one person can check it out. There will probably be about 3 copies of each thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if more than 3 people want that particular book, then you'll have to just wait in line for it.
Wow. I owe the library a lot of money. I wonder if that will be an issue.
Well,
using Libby.
So.
I'm installing it. I'm letting Face ID.
So just FYI.
That's funny. No, you just made me think of a Seinfeld episode I just watched like 3 days ago, where he.
Which one?
It's the one with he had that book that he thought he turned back in. Like
Bookman. You have the librarian named Bookman.
I just saw that probably 3 or 4 days ago.
Seinfeld. Wow, that's a third recommendation. Seinfeld. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say another cultural recommendation.
3.
Do you have Audible?
Yes.
Did you know you can return your credits? Like you can return a book and get a different credit. They limit you. You only can do it like 10 times and they stop you for like a month. But yeah, I know.
That's cool.
So if I have books, I can go in and what if I no longer have I'm no longer paying them for more credits every month? Does that affect?
I think you have to have it. It has to be like you have to have the service. But then if you do, you can return your books.
I just did it. I had started that book, Innovator's Dilemma, because it sounded like something I ought to read, and then it was incredibly boring. And I was like 30 minutes into it. You just got me a credit back. As a result, I'm going to go ahead and get your How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps.
Next week, we could have an update if you enjoy it.
Yeah, I will
start a book club.
Audiobook club.
That'll be the second podcast on the channel. Audiobook club. That's actually a local band in Oklahoma City.
That's cool. Book club.
So there might be some consumer confusion on.
We can come up with another name, or we can.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want to sponsor this podcast as well.
Ooh, and they could perform, and they could. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about this off air.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty great idea. Wow. Well, hit 'em Hardesty and hit 'em Dallas. Great recommendations.
Does sound better.
I know. And it's weird. It's weird if you have the same format of. I mean, we can go with it. I'm not going to tell you no, but it's kind of weird to have the same format nickname for both of you all. But we'll find you one, Wayne.
It'll happen.
Ditch 'em Dallas. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Yeah. Okay. We can Well, I'll fast forward the 5 minutes where we sit here brainstorming Hayden's nickname.
That sounds good. In fact, we move on to the main course.
Yes, the main course. What are we talking about today, Wayne, in the main course?
We are talking about, we picked out a few different social media platforms to just discuss really quick. So Josh is going to talk about LinkedIn and Clubhouse. Very excited to hear about Clubhouse. I actually joined today.
Wait, you joined? How'd you join?
I did. I joined Clubhouse.
How'd you get a code?
I don't know. I tried to join, and then there was a friend of mine that already, I guess, invited me. I don't know. I got in really quick and easy.
Whoa!
You guys need help?
Damn.
Yeah.
I
All right.
definitely need help.
I'm going to talk a little bit about Instagram, and then Trevor's going to talk about his favorite pastime, OnlyFans.
It's not right. Now I have to say disclaimers in my segment. I'm just curious. Like, you hear these words, LinkedIn, Instagram. I don't know what they are. So it sounds pretty cool.
Well, you picked the right podcast to listen to, my friend.
Yeah, I'll watch this one.
Cool today.
LinkedIn.
All right, LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn, it's interesting. It's grouped. Sorry, this is kind of off the top of my head. Grouped with all the other social media platforms because it kind of has evolved into a social media platform, but I don't think it was always probably viewed as one. Kind of a way to, I guess it would be because you're connecting with other professionals, but I guess in the beginning it was very limited. Like you want to connect with certain people and keep your life very narrow in that platform. But yeah, so LinkedIn is for professionals. You can connect to, who you work with, who you don't work with. But the privacy is pretty high. Like the person has to accept the request for you to do things like message people or look at their profile. And the app tells you when someone looks at your profile or messages you or whatever. It's very friendly to the user. What surprised me when I was researching this was that LinkedIn doesn't make a lot of its money from users. It makes most of its money from recruiters. So the LinkedIn Now, like originally may have been just a platform for professionals. The LinkedIn Now is basically a platform built for recruiters to hire talent, and that's how LinkedIn makes most of its money. Over 2/3 of its money come from this recruiting side of the platform. So it's kind of cool because LinkedIn, you can also, there's levels to, as a user, to how much you can see. So if you want to message anyone, you have to pay for that, and it's a subscription. So the LinkedIn's making money off of the users, and you get other information like who more detail about who's viewing your profile. Like maybe it is a recruiter and you look for a job. That could be useful information to you. It's also making money through, since it is a social media platform, advertisers. So you'll see advertisements for schools, I don't know, programs, classes, products. But most of its money comes from the other end, the recruitment side, where when someone gets hired through LinkedIn, that recruiter has to pay LinkedIn a certain percentage. And that's what it's grown to be. And you guys can imagine, the more recruiters on it, the more, originally, I guess, the more people on it attracted more recruiters, but the more recruiters attracted more people looking for jobs and just grew together, which is kind of in contrast to other job sites like Indeed and Monster and ZipRecruiter. They don't have the social media aspect, so it's just for a user and recruiter, not this user-to-user effects.
Cool. So one thing that's interesting from what you said, so it seems like if most of their money comes from recruiters, when they would probably have the most revenue when you have relatively low unemployment, right? Or I wonder, right? So if unemployment's low, that means employees are scarce. So I wonder if they see an influx of recruiters an influx of revenue when employment goes down. So I wonder if it moves opposite to the unemployment rate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, possibly.
Or if it's like when unemployment's high.
I would say when unemployment's high, it would probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
actually,
right.
I don't know. I could see it going either way. Because
no, I think you might be right, Wayne.
It just depends on, I guess, how exactly how they monetize and if it's affected at all by, demand of if recruiters aren't really in demand, demanding a lot of people to hire, then they might not be willing to pay as much.
Yeah.
So it depends.
Josh, what's your LinkedIn password and username?
Wait. Yep, you're right down.
Yeah.
Josh_Hardesty at theheatthatmoves.com. And
okay.
Password thefish 40517.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. No problem.
That way I don't have to pay for it myself. But I could still use it. That sounds pretty nice.
Last thing I'll mention is that Microsoft bought LinkedIn in 2018. Forgot to mention that. So now you have Microsoft behind all LinkedIn stuff.
Cool. Have any of you guys, you paid for LinkedIn? Have you paid for it?
I have in the past. I'm not paying for it now, but I kind of think maybe I should. Because they do a very good job of making you curious. Because they'll be like, man, 12 people looked at your profile this week, and they'll show you like 2 people, but it's people that they know you don't care looked at your account.
Yeah,
it'll be like your teacher and your cousin looked at your profile. Who are the other 10 people that looked at it? Because that's probably the people that I would want to know about.
Right. I pay for it. That's a big reason why, just to know who looks at my profile. It also
totally. I just quit last month. Yeah, it does. Those stats are pretty good too. Mm-hmm. Well, and I would say this. I know over the past year or so, all 3 of us have spent a lot of time job hunting. I mean, I'd say from the beginning of 2020 to now, I applied for 186 jobs, and I would say that 175 of them I found on LinkedIn, just because I feel like its recommendation algorithm was so much better than Indeed, Monster, anything else.
Yeah.
I'd say the data they have is, aside from their users, the data they have is the second biggest asset they have.
And a big thing for me that's been really that I think is really interesting and helpful is the fact that it's a social network where people put where they work. So if you're connected to someone, like let's say that you want to apply to a job at theheatthatmoves.com or The Heat That Moves. If you're friends with one of us and you see the job posting, you can see the job posting, and then you can look up if you know anyone there in the same place. And then you can just shoot a message, even on the same platform, to someone that you know, trying to get your foot in the door. Like, hey, can you make sure this gets past the, whatever algorithms they use to filter people out? Because I honestly think that's the hardest part about getting a job, generally speaking, is just getting to where someone actually looks at what you looks at your resume. Because generally speaking, no one actually ever looks at it. So the fact that you can do all of that in one place, to me, is why LinkedIn is such a good place to look.
And I'm glad when you mentioned that. We are taking interns if you want to work at The Heat That Moves. We need a website, and then, I don't know, other interns.
Yes.
Yeah. We need, I think, well, I mean, don't say non-paid. I mean, we pay an experience. Right. We pay an experience.
Appreciation. So it's a very high-paying job.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm about to move, and so there's a lot of stuff I'd like to get rid of that's of value, non-zero value, non-trivial value. So, I mean, really, I mean, it's not paid in the traditional sense, but it pays in a lot of other ways. I think I've always wanted an intern where I work right now. Well, I will work for one more day. We have some high school students that come in and are interns because there's this local high school that
That's really cool.
it's like a work study high school, and so it's a private school, but the tuition is paid by the businesses that are essentially paying for these interns.
What?
And one,
I love that
the
idea.
cost benefit, smart. The cost benefit. I mean, you're paying a lot for an intern, way more than I got paid doing some internships. And two, it's really hard to talk to high school kids for me. So I'd like to have an intern that maybe is not in high school, if I can put that out there. So maybe if we can kind of like anyone's in high school, filter them out. College would be good.
Right.
You know, even
college interns, like
even not college. I just say maybe over 18 in a non-creepy way.
Yeah.
Well, on LinkedIn, you could probably filter by that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was wondering what types of jobs are on LinkedIn. It is all kinds of jobs. Like even, if you want to be a cashier at, the gas station on the road, they have a LinkedIn, probably have a LinkedIn. I mean, it's like
oh yeah, man. Like
but
you can even get a job as a stripper on LinkedIn.
I've not done that search. It probably
Don't
my
ask
search
me why I know
like
okay.
results, but
yeah, your algorithm would be like, wow, things are desperate in Texas. Josh is going a different direction.
And just imagine on ads, you could target,
hot people.
Right. Or if you want to just target people with the title senior director of whatever, you can do that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. You could actually probably, if you're trying to fill in an exotic dancer position, figure out what's the last job that exotic dancers have before they become exotic dancers, and maybe target that. So I don't know, like what do you think the last job exotic dancers have before they become exotic dancers?
My money's on waitress.
Okay. Or waiter. Or wait staff person.
Or
server.
Bartender, maybe.
Yeah. Bartender. Server.
Dude, bartender, you might not switch out because it depends on how much you make, but they can make good money. I guess server.
And if you like to drink.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Make a lot of money if they're, good.
For some reason, school teacher popped into my head, but I don't think that's right.
I was going to say school teacher because I did have a school teacher who also worked at the strip club in our town.
How did you know that? You lived in a pretty big city.
Yeah. Well, that was the rumor, and I wanted to believe it. But the second story is my geometry teacher was on their Facebook page because he went to the strip club and they took a picture of him.
Come on!
Since we're talking about strip clubs,
he likes those angles.
I have a story,
right?
A random story. So this is purely social media, actually, kind of story. So I had a friend that I knew through college. Like we were friends in college. She was a cute girl and everything. So she went to someone else's like bachelorette party at like a male strip club, right? And then she posted someone posted a bunch of pictures from like that whole thing, and she was tagged in one, and it was in my feed. I had to message her, and and actually she's a teacher. I think she teaches first grade, maybe.
Oh no!
And so I messaged her, and I was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that you're tagged in a picture with a male stripper, and his private parts are just sitting on your stomach, and I can see it."
Oh my gosh!
And she wrote me back, and she's like, "Oh my god, thank you so much. I didn't know." And she deleted.
Wow, that's a good story.
It was super awkward, but I felt like I needed to tell her because I was like, knowing her, she wouldn't put that on herself. Someone actually tagged her in a picture. I was like, I think you should know.
Who would do that?
Well, if she listened to our podcast from last week, she would know to Google yourself.
Yeah.
Before, periodically. See what's out there.
Come on. I had never mind. I like LinkedIn. I'd say it's like maybe my second most used social media app. But when I was looking for a job, and I'm going to be a little vulnerable here, I had to limit it because when I would get on there, and I spent a lot of time looking for a job, when I would get on there and I would see people getting really cool new positions, it would make me be like even more frustrated and feel bad about myself. So I kind of noticed that I would do that thing where it's like, check LinkedIn, but I'm not using it to search for jobs. I'm just using it to browse the feed. And I see that somebody I know got a great new job. And then I'm like, man, I can't find a job I want. And then I just kind of like self-esteem spiral from there. So I really had to, in the pandemic, kind of watch myself. I hope that's not too vulnerable to say, but gotten a little bit better now.
No, I think, yeah, I had to start training. I thought I was training my LinkedIn algorithm to not show me things about people with new jobs. One, because if they're new to that job, they probably can't get me a job. So I don't want to see that shit. And number two, it just made me feel bad about myself. So I also didn't want to see that shit. For that reason.
Wow, what a great, that's smart. That should be a button. I think,
yeah.
I don't, yes, I don't want to hear about my friend's recent success anymore.
Totally.
It's like, if it could somehow parse out, you can hear about new jobs where it's not impressive, but if it's impressive, new, I don't want to hear about it.
We need to get some people on that. I'm gonna write a letter to LinkedIn tomorrow, an email to say, hey, stop making me jealous of people getting great jobs, please.
Or hey, I have a great idea. You should pay me for it or something.
Ooh, that's good, and will happen. Josh, you've got another app you're gonna talk to us about, Club Sandwich.
Yeah, Club Sandwich. So Clubhouse is an invite-only audio app. So I was not cool enough to get invited originally, but since Wayne is now on the platform, I hopefully will get, to be able to experience Clubhouse for myself. Anyway.
We will see how this goes.
All these walls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Clubhouse is an audio-first app. From what I understand, it's basically a bunch of chat rooms that are hosted by whoever's who started the chat room. So you can go into any of the chat rooms and talk to whoever. But it got a lot of press because originally it was invite only, and they only invited people who were more well known. So you got your Elon Musks, your Kanye's. I don't know. I saw an article about that recently, so that's what I thought about. But yeah, I guess it's got a lot of press in my LinkedIn and on my news feeds. So I haven't used it. Look forward to using it. Seems pretty popular, so at least it has a lot of users. Yeah.
I wonder. I mean, a couple of things that come to mind. One, how can you have that many people all trying to talk at the same time?
Well, I can give you. So I spent probably about 30 minutes on it, like actually in chat rooms or whatever you want to call them. And so I can give you a little bit about my experience. So there's two different classes of people in whatever chat room you go into. So there's the audience, and then there's like the participants. I haven't figured out yet how you become a participant without starting your own room. But
probably an invite from a
or you could start your own room, or I don't know. There's ways that you can get involved. I just haven't figured it out yet because I just downloaded it probably around 3:00 and didn't spend a lot of time on it because I had other things to do. But it was cool. So I think there's probably about 9 people from what I can remember that have the ability to talk. And so there will be different ones for different subjects. And you can, so when you first open it up and it asks you about what types of things you're interested in. What do you want to talk about? Like, do you want to talk about sports? Do you want to talk about music? Do you want to talk about politics? Do you want to talk about coding, engineering, MBA, business, stock market, whatever? And what's really cool about it, like, I actually think that it's a great idea because, like, I added things like space. Like, I added space for whatever reason. I've always liked space. So
I don't like
it's something that I've always been interested in, like watching, docuseries about like by Neil deGrasse Tyson where he talks about the stars and stuff. So they have things like literally like NASA scientists discussing different random things in a room, and normal people can just sit around listening to it, and some people can even participate. So I think it's really cool because it's a great way to express your, like, hear other people's thoughts, and especially thought leaders, but also express yourself in a way that I think is more free. Because when you tweet something, I don't know, I think that it's a little bit more permanent than just saying something, unless someone's actually recording you.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, because my first thought when you were saying that, Wayne, was that, well, I can listen to a podcast and hear thought leaders talk to each other. So you're saying that because it's not recorded, because it's temporary, the conversation is more candid.
Yeah, the conversations are more candid, and another thing that I think is great about it is I did a little bit of research on it as well, and just because I was curious about it, and a lot of people are attacking it, saying that people are saying crazy things on there. But from what I've heard, it seems like if someone says something too crazy, there's a good chance there's going to be someone else that's going to call them on it and fact check them in the moment, instead of it being, you tweet something and it gets all these people retweeted. It's been retweeted like 400,000 times, right? But it's completely wrong. Even if you call the person out on it and they, might admit, okay, that's not true. They tweet, oh, I was wrong when I said this. That's going to get like 2,000 retweets. So the damage is really already done. You know what I mean? But on this, someone says something, people have the opportunity to challenge them on their thinking. So I think it's great because it's an avenue to allow people to actually talk. Because I've never been a person about censorship. I think people should be able to, say what they want, as long as they're willing to, have that discussion. And this, I think, from the about 30 minutes I spent like listening in on different conversations, it seems like that's what happens. Because in the conversation I was listening in on, there was one person who was calling out Andrew Cuomo for some stuff. And then there's another person that was defending him, and they were arguing back and forth about it. And to me, it was way better than virtually anything else I've heard as far as getting both sides of the story. Because generally people, like, if you listen to the news or whatever, a lot of it's scripted, and you're not necessarily going to get two sides of a story on one channel. But
I see. What prevents there from being this, just like, say, conspiracy theory pockets that remain unchallenged? You know what I mean? Like, if Parler was this echo chamber of alt-right conspiracy thought, what prevents clubhouses or clubhouse rooms from falling prey to the same?
I mean, so for that, I'll be honest. If you were able to get a bunch of people in a clubhouse chat room that all were QAnon people, and no one was allowed in that wasn't, yeah, you probably have something like that. But the great thing about it is it would be confined to the people that are in that room.
I see.
Whereas if it was Facebook, it's going to reach probably millions of people. And there's actually Facebook, Twitter, all that. They actually have algorithms that are trying to figure out how to best keep you hooked, how to best get you to keep going back to the site. So if they think that there's a chance that you would be susceptible to QAnon or to name the conspiracy, I don't want to just focus on them. There's a lot of different ones. So
cool.
And,
well, I hope you could share it with us, Wayne. Maybe.
All right, we'll see. I'm thinking about it. I feel like I have power right now.
Yeah, I tried. You should auction off some invites.
Yeah, I'll sell them.
$1. I would pay
me in stock market.
Everybody's taking a beating.
I want
Sucks.
2 game. I'll give 2 GameStop. No, I won't. Never mind.
I'm this close to rage quitting the stock market. Like this close. I've actually pulled out like half of my investments. I was like, man, forget these stocks.
We dog sat and we got paid pretty well, and so my half of it I put directly into my favorite ETF, and then the stock markets just proceeded to go down every day this week, and it was bad timing. But you know what? It'll go up eventually. It'll be okay. Wayne, I know you're going to talk to us now about Pinterest. That's our next topic. Pinterest.
No,
a lot of great recipes.
Pinterest. It's Instagram.
Okay.
Hold on.
What is it?
It's Instagram.
Oh, you're going to check Instagram?
Yeah, it's Instagram.
Did a Pinterest.
Yeah, no one did Pinterest. That would have been a good one though.
I'm just kidding. Come on.
So, Instagram is basically it's a social media platform that was founded in 2010. It started out as purely an iOS app, so it was only on iPhones. And it was bought in 2012 by Facebook. So, man, Facebook owns everything. What it's really about, it's mostly focused on images and video. It started off just focused on images, and then they integrated video into it as well. And the main way that they make money, the main way that they're monetized is through advertisements, which I kind of knew, but it's actually pretty impressive, like how they do everything that they do. One thing that I found out that was really interesting was that about 70% of people on there actually say that they use it for what's called product discovery. So they, based on the people they follow and the brands they follow and all of that on there, they're actually looking to find ideas for things to purchase, which means that advertisements on there are very effective, especially when it comes to things like fashion, gadgets, whatever. It notices what kind of things you like and what kind of things you follow, and then it recommends, it'll give you advertisements based on that. And they have a very high success rate as far as like converting ads on there. It's actually higher than on Facebook. Converting ads to actual like purchases and click-throughs, very high. Another big thing about it is they have a very young audience, mostly teenagers and young adults, which is a very attractive demographic. And it's also global. About 89% of Instagram's users are outside the United States, which is something that really surprised me. I knew that they had, international people on there, but I assumed that the United States would be at least 40%, 50%, something like that. I had no reason to think that other than, I guess, my American-centric viewpoint.
Yeah.
This feels like it would be mostly American. Let's see. Oh, so it was bought for $1 billion by Facebook in 2012. By 2018, it had an estimated worth of $100 billion. So that was a pretty good investment.
Ooh. Yeah.
It's really, for me, I think the big thing that made Instagram cool was it came out, I believe, around the same time. I'm kind of speaking out my ass right now. I'm not sure if this is true, but I believe that it came out around the same time that Facebook started letting everybody join Facebook. Right? At least that's how I remember it. Because when I first got on Facebook, it was only like college students who were on Facebook. Like college students were on Facebook, and then they opened up to everyone. And I just remember all my friends were like, my parents are trying to friend me on Facebook and blah, blah, blah. So I think that one of the big reasons why it exploded the way that it did was younger people were trying to find a new place to go where there weren't where their parents weren't.
Yeah.
Where they didn't have
Okay.
to.
Yeah.
So Wayne, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think the younger kids were going to a platform like Instagram because it's because like Facebook, it knows everything about you. It tells you location, like where you live, you like stuff, it tells you what you like. Instagram, it's a little bit less. It's only like videos, images, still location stuff. Do you think younger people like it because it has less information about them, or it's more private?
I mean, I don't feel like it's really more private. If anything, I would say young people like it because there's not as many older people on it, and because they like pictures and it focuses on pictures.
Yeah, they can't read.
Yeah.
I do know for a fact too that they Facebook's knowledge repository on individuals, non-Facebook users or not, will also power ad service on Instagram. So it's almost like it's that ad algorithm is inescapable. And that stuff gets sold to a lot of different advertisers, but since they own Instagram, it's like it's crazy. I like Instagram a lot. I think it's my favorite social media platform.
Me too.
I think its discovery page has got really good recommendations that are able to keep track of what I'm currently into. So it's like, oh, guitar pedals, oh, cycling, oh, something else. I like it for that, and it's pretty simple. I just waste time. I'm a lurker in general. I post a little bit on Instagram, but my mom now follows me too, which kind of took away a lot of the fun. But that didn't happen until like a year or two ago. But it's not been the same since she started following me.
See, that's why people are moving to TikTok.
I like TikTok too. Oh, somebody should talk about TikTok.
Are you on TikTok?
I love TikTok.
Yo, Trevor told me.
Josh?
I'm not. I just remember a conversation we had, Trevor, when TikTok came out, and you're like, man, it's addictive. It's like they know what you want to see next. It's like they know what video you want to see next. It just comes up.
So
it's amazing.
When I think TikTok, I think that's like my nephew's generation's thing. Yeah, that's kind of the way that I don't know. That's how I feel about it. Like
everybody on there is like under 18, but don't you? Maybe this is just me, and it's a personal problem. But doesn't that make you curious? Like, what's going on? What's the next thing? Doesn't that make you curious?
I mean, curious. Yeah, but I gotta be honest. I don't want to. I feel like I have too many things to distract me in my life. And I've also heard from a lot of people that TikTok is addictive.
Yeah. And you'll sit on the toilet for like 15 minutes.
I don't need another addictive social media thing to get into and try to figure out and learn. I still don't really understand Instagram terribly well. That's the whole story about not knowing that people could see who all you follow.
Tell us about that.
Wait,
what do you mean?
What was that, Wayne?
Like you're talking about politicians and like the CDC.
So like if you like follow some random like Instagram model because she's like attractive or whatever,
or because you like her ideas.
Yeah, because she's just she's really smart and she has very good views on a lot of subjects, and I'm interested in what she has to say about things like policy-wise or whatever. And but then I realized that everyone that follows me can see who I follow, or even see like what I like and stuff, or what I don't know. Like to me, I feel like
would you write comments to these Instagram models? Would you write comments to them?
No.
You would just like it.
I would like it if it was.
You should like it because they get paid more.
Yeah. You know, I had there's a guy that I worked with briefly at a job I had a few years ago, and I didn't know him that well, but I knew who he was. And then one of my best friends who still works for that company said, hey, look at this guy's Twitter, because Twitter has the same feature. And this guy, it looked like he just spent all day liking pornography posts. And it looked like it had been years that he'd been liking pornography posts, and no one had ever told him. And it was not vanilla stuff. It was just kind of shocking that somebody could go years liking explicit content, which, to bring things back to what we talked about during our cold open, I mean, the beginning of the show, Ted Cruz. Do you all remember that news item? Ted Cruz liked a pornography video on Twitter. I mean, it's not about
I don't
Instagram.
remember
I'm sorry,
that. That's
but
hilarious.
Twitter allows pornography. We're talking about Ted Cruz. Oh, it involved. It was
I knew
it involved
allowed
a gentleman and his stepmother.
I have a funny story, really quick. So when I was in the Air Force,
about how you know that. Okay.
Yeah, this is how I know that like you can actually find like porn on Twitter. So when I was in the Air Force, like there were the computers they're very secure, so there's a lot of things you can't do. Like you can't do anything when it comes to fantasy football, which was terrible.
That's hilarious. That was
there's
specified.
a lot of websites you just can't go to, right?
Yeah.
And I just remember one day this dude was like watching basically porn on like a government computer, and I was like, "What?" First off, I was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "How are you even doing that?" Like, I've been trying to, change up my
trade
lineup
crypto.
Yeah.
Lineup.
I've been trying to change my lineup for my fantasy football team like all day, and I can't do it because I couldn't have my cell phone on me or whatever.
Wait, Wayne, aren't you like the network guy? You're supposed to be able to like stop that from like happening.
I mean, it wasn't any of my business really. But yeah, so he was looking at that stuff on Twitter. Like he knew who to follow on Twitter, and he would just sit around and randomly watch freaky videos. I was like,
wow,
it's crazy. I didn't even.
Wow, at work he was getting taxpayer dollars to watch pornography.
Back to your guy, Wayne.
What was his name?
No comment. Shoot, I might try to hit him up for a job later. I actually just saw him on LinkedIn. He's doing really well.
Good for him.
Trevor, back to your guy. And all this algorithm stuff. Maybe he was trying to train his algorithm. He knew what he liked. He wanted more of that, so you just.
Do you think part of me wondered, and I admire the brazenness of this, if he knew that other people could see it and he just didn't care? I admire that. I'm pretty far more shameful.
Some people are into that, I guess.
He's like really smart, so I think he probably did his research first.
Yeah.
I could never do that. I just.
Well, Ted Cruz is very smart, and Ted Cruz did it, and then they blamed it. They said he was hacked.
See, got away with it. He's still a senator.
Hacked.
Yeah.
We didn't go that way. So speaking of dirty stuff online, let's talk about your hobby, Trevor.
Fans Only, which is now actually the largest online retailer of ceiling fans, and it was actually it's called OnlyFans, and I'm sure you all have heard of it. And what I'm not here to talk about is to condone or condemn sex work, but I think from a business perspective, as a platform, it's really fascinating because it's very different than other trends we've seen. So OnlyFans, I mean, it was started. Let me read the Wikipedia page. I'm just kidding. It was like, I think probably 5 years ago that it began. But like all these platforms, your first few years, you're slowly building users, but eventually you hit this critical mass and the growth becomes exponential. And that happened just last year. And it was particularly exacerbated by the fact that the pandemic, people had a lot more free time to devote towards online content. And it is worth saying that largely and historically, OnlyFans has been a platform for sex workers. And why it is different than other platforms is it is essentially, unlike Twitter or Instagram, where you follow a particular person's feed, and that's free, and what you pay is the ads you get exposed to. OnlyFans, you pay to be able to access someone's content. So if there's somebody's content that I want to see, I pay for it. But beyond that, they actually have the ability to offer tiered pricing, right? So, for example, I might, not me, I've actually never subscribed to OnlyFans or even been on there, kind of like Josh talking about Clubhouse. So, Wayne, I'll let you tell us more from a firsthand perspective in just a minute. But
Do you need an invitation, Trevor?
Yeah,
you know, I'm not. I don't know. I don't think I'll go on there. Yeah, well, I don't want to get into that. But I haven't been on there. But because that's not what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in the content. I'm interested in the platform. But largely sex workers, and that's how it grew. And when the pandemic hit, people had more time for pornography. And so say for example, you go to somebody's profile and there's a $5 tier where you're going to get some lewd photos. Well, there's probably also a $20 tier with even more lewd photos, and it scales up from there. And some of the folks that, you know, the suppliers of content, the content creators, will even do custom content or interact more directly with fans. But I think what's important about it is that it, you know, and that's not necessarily a new concept, because you have platforms like Patreon that allow you to monetarily support people on a recurring basis. So like there's one account that I pay $5 a month for their content on Patreon, because I get more of their content than what they release on Instagram. And I want to support them. Yeah, it's not pornography. It's this great show called All Gas, No Breaks. Okay. And he's essentially this young 20-something guy. Actually, he recently got a deal to make a Comedy Central show under Tim Heidegger's production company, Absolutely. But he's this early 20-something guy. He travels the country in an RV, and he visits the fringe groups of society. So you'll see content of him at a UFO conference. You'll see videos of him talking to crazy drug addicts in Florida. You'll see content of him going to like weird spiritual conferences or political rallies, or he'll be talking to juggalos. But he visits all the fringe groups of society. It's fantastic. So that's on Patreon, and I can see all his videos because I pay $5 a month, and I want to support him. But OnlyFans has really just been historically geared more towards sex workers. There's other people on there. I mean, like, for example, the comedian Donnell Rawlings, who got his start on Chappelle's show, who's a very funny comedian. He's on OnlyFans because one of the benefits that it offers is that you're narrowcasting it to paid subscribers, and those are people that are not going to be offended by what you say. And so, kind of like we talked about earlier with Clubhouse, you feel a lot more freedom because the people that are going to be seeing your content are paying for it. And who's going to pay for content that's just going to offend them? So Donnell Rawlings uses it for that purpose. You've also got now, I mean, a whole slew of, now that it's blown up and become really famous, a whole slew of celebrities that are trying to cash in on the next fad. Like, for example, DJ Khaled and Fat Joe have a joint OnlyFans account, and I don't think it's pornography because I don't think people would want to pay to see that. But I do think that, maybe. Well, some people, some people would. Yeah, we would. But it's inspirational BS. You know what I mean? It's like DJ Khaled doing his thing. He's just got Fat Joe along for the ride. Famously also, Bella Thorne. You all know who Bella Thorne is? Former Disney star, now turned actress, who's trying to shed her Disney Channel star image by being very explicit. Bella Thorne. She was on OnlyFans. She announced that she's going to be on OnlyFans. She's got huge social media followings. Of course, does cosmetics and stuff like that. I think, and she goes on OnlyFans and makes more money in a day and then in a week than any other content creator has. But she generated a tremendous amount of backlash because when she did so, the content she posted was not more explicit than what was on her Instagram. It was essentially just the same quality and character and caliber of content as her Instagram. And so she got this huge public backlash saying essentially, and she made $1 million in a day and $2 million in a week, which was more money than any other content creator had made. She got a lot of backlash from the sex work community because they said, you've come in
purely just to cash in on your fame. And you're essentially taking dollars out of people's pockets that would go to us, and you didn't even do what you're going to do, like what people expected you to do, which was show lewd content behind a paywall. So,
How dare her?
I know. But I think here's what's interesting about OnlyFans, and I think I can talk about this a lot because I think it's really fascinating. But the reasons that I like it, whether it's being used, regardless of who's using it, it's the same reason that I like Patreon, and the same reason I like crowd-funded stuff, which is that it puts power in the hands of the artist and creator, and takes power away from distribution companies or production companies or management companies. So the directness between the creator and the fan means more money goes to the creator, which means on net, you're going to have more creators able to support themselves as creators, meaning we've got more content out in the world. So for that reason, I like it. I mean, I think about famously Radiohead, the band, released their album In Rainbows, and they made it pay what you want. I remember I downloaded it and I paid $5. And this was like iTunes era. This was like before streaming services, after Napster, LimeWire platforms. So I love that component. There's this fantastic podcast that I listen to called Exponent, and one of the hosts, Ben Thompson, is what he does. He does something similar, but it's a daily email. And it's just his thoughts, because he's an incredibly intelligent guy that now lives in Taiwan that has this daily newsletter called Stratechery. And he's so smart, and he keeps 100% of the money because you just buy direct from him. And so he's able to devote so much time and resources to it, develop great content every day because he gets to keep all the money. Now, OnlyFans, they keep 80% of the content, which I think is pretty fair. Considering
OnlyFans or the artist keeps 80%.
The artist keeps 80%.
Okay, cool.
OnlyFans gets 20% cut. But again, I like this for that reason. It cuts out the middlemen. I originally thought about talking this on this podcast because I watched the Framing Britney Spears documentary on Hulu that everybody's been talking about.
I just heard about that. One of my friends was talking about it, so I would love to hear your thoughts on it because I haven't seen it.
It's good. I mean, it's just essentially she got taken advantage of by the system, and eventually ended up in a legal situation in which her father is now the conservator of her. Well, that's just changed a little bit recently, but he was the conservator of her person and the conservator of her finances. And Britney Spears, of course, has this history of being this person that flaunted that she was in control of her own career, but ultimately she wasn't. And so I like platforms like this, because it gives artists autonomy. It frees them, Wayne, like you were talking about, from censorship, because they're not broadcasting. They're narrowcasting to only their fans that are willing to pay for it. So they're able to be more free. I love that. It flips that power distribution. I think what's odd, though, this is finally where I'll stop talking and ask you guys some questions. What's interesting is, so think about this. So I want to compare OnlyFans and Patreon to what I'm going to call aggregator platforms. And like, for example, a YouTube, a Spotify, an Apple Music. I think there's even pornography sites that function this way, where you pay the cost of admission and then it's a buffet. You get free range to consume as much content as you want past the initial paywall, but the paywall is for the aggregator. I mean, so this is totally different because you're not paying an aggregator to have access to all the content. You're paying a specific artist for their content. I mean, and so the kind of stuff that I'm curious about is I like this because it puts more money in the pockets of the artists. But it seems really different than the rest of the stuff that's going on, like Spotify, YouTube, Netflix, whatever. Do you all think this is it just a sex worker thing? Is it going to become bigger in the future? What does it mean to have it be so different than these aggregator platforms?
I think first off, I think it's going to be bigger, just because a lot of people want to have more control over what they're doing. And I mean, even YouTube and all that, like they've been, demonetizing a lot of accounts lately for and that'll be most of it's been like political people on the right and the left, which I'm not a fan of. So a lot of people are looking for more places to broadcast their content to make sure that they're able to keep saying what they believe in or keep speaking their truth or doing their art the way that they want without being censored or controlled by someone else. So I think that it's going to grow because of that. But I think that it's great that there's both of them are very necessary, because you need the aggregated platforms so people can discover what they like. And then once you figure that out, it's really good to have a way to show your appreciation and fund them more directly at that point. So I think that it's really good to have both of them working together.
Yeah,
because I don't think that anyone, for the most part, could just hop on to OnlyFans and expect to be really successful. People have to know you in some way from something else, most likely.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be very hard for you to get a following.
That's a great point. I hadn't really thought about that. So you see, it's not a matter of the pendulum swinging one way or the other. It's more about sites like this will continue to grow. And maybe that means that the aggregator sites will diminish a little bit. But really, the equilibrium is going to be that they work together in tandem, because that was one of I was thinking about, because like, what's the downside of these sites? And I was like, well, you can't go viral. If you're on OnlyFans or you're on Patreon, you can't go viral because that's just not how it works. There's a cost entry. But I hadn't thought about what you're talking about, Wayne, which I think is great. Do you think is it worse for consumers? I mean, it's better for creators, but do you all think it's worse for consumers? It's worse for us?
So I think it's your idea of a pendulum, I think it is swinging, and I think it's swinging towards aggregators more now. At least when you brought the Netflix, because now every movie and show content creator or owner, they are out, or they're creating their own platform for the shows. Like I think it was Paramount was in the Super Bowl or something like that. They're having their platform come out.
Peacock.
Disney Plus, Peacock. Peacock. Disney Plus is growing. But people just want, and I guess people used to pay for just like one fee, like the ultimate aggregator to whoever your cable company is. They aggregate for you. Now I think people are going to go. It's going to go more towards aggregation. People are going to want more stuff for their money, because if you just pay like $15 to Netflix and 10 to Hulu or whatever, eventually they're going to want more content for that money. So I think it's going more towards aggregators, but I also see the space for someone to, and I think Patreon and OnlyFans have done it to an extent, for very specialized content. Because for me, podcasts, there's a podcast I really love. That, and I didn't think of it like as Wayne said about there can be both and both is good. Cause for me, like podcasts, there's a podcast about basketball I really love, Dunked On. They had to take themselves private because advertisers, they don't want to pay you per podcast. They want to pay you like every week we'll give you X amount of money. But they were doing a daily podcast on how basketball is changing and went really in depth in their analysis. But if they put five podcasts a week out, like they're not going to get paid for 5; they're going to get paid for the week. So they had to go private for that. But I love it because I get my basketball fill for the day. But I agree with Wayne. Both, and I think it is better for. Sorry, back to your question. Better for the consumer because you can choose to have that large amount of content and then dive deep if you want to. I just think there's not one platform that does it.
Yeah, I think it's good for consumers because it gives consumers more power to decide where their money goes. Like back in the day when you're paying for cable, like you just pay for cable. You might be able to decide, okay, I want HBO or I don't. But beyond that, You just have to pay what they ask you to pay, and you're supporting all these channels that you don't even watch. Now you have the ultimate like freedom to decide where your money goes and what you have access to. So you could literally, for your entertainment, if the only thing you care about is all brakes, no gas. That could be the only thing that you spend money on for entertainment for the month. Like if that was really your desire, or you can expand it out. You kind of get to choose. And also, there's plenty of things out there that are free. So,
right.
I mean, really, if you want it, you can just look at YouTube. And then if there's certain things you really want to pay for, you can pay for them and get away with like $10, $20 in content for the month and be happy with it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point. Yeah, and I think we all get it. Your kind of perspective, Wayne, on them working in tandem is right, because so I think about something like TikTok. I think like, for example, a TikTok and OnlyFans, or TikTok and Patreon, are kind of like the perfect pair, because what's amazing about what's true of TikTok that's not true about YouTube is that if you post something to TikTok, it's going to get seen by a lot more people than if you just post it to YouTube, just because of how the recommendation algorithms work, because of time limits, and especially the time limits, and then this whole advertising apparatus that they've built around the content on YouTube, to where YouTube just favors and rewards longer form content like our show, which we don't have any ads yet. But that's fine. We'll get there. So I see this future where TikTok and OnlyFans, TikTok and Patreon are kind of the perfect 1-2 punch. To your point, Wayne, about the first one's about exposure, limited access to content. If you like it, you got a way to see more, kind of like Josh and Dunked On. So I think that's cool, and I think you know, the economist in my head tells me too that what I like about Patreon and OnlyFans is the tiered pricing is also really important, because like I pay $5 a month for this all gas no brakes guy, but I really in my head value him $10 a month worth. I'm sure people out there that value him $50 a month worth. And when you have a model where it just costs, a CD costs $15, a super fan pays the same amount as a superficial fan. But in these worlds where they have tiered pricing, you can pay more if you value it more, if you want to, which I think is cool, because I think it's money that's not getting sucked up by labels and production companies and distributors. It's going straight to the artist. And what I like about it too is that it just supports a whole bunch of different media, music, comedians, podcasters, pornographers. That's pretty cool. Do you think OnlyFans can ever get over the stigma of being about pornography and sex work, or do you think it's kind of like we'll just wait until another platform pops off? Maybe Patreon will pop off even more. I know Patreon was big with like streamers too. I mean, can OnlyFans get past that? I don't
think it's that big of a deal, and the reason I say that is because I don't know if this is true or not. I'm gonna start off by saying that, but I feel like I've heard somewhere that I think Pornhub is like the second most visited site on the internet after Google.
Whoa.
Someone told me that. I don't know.
And the first most searched for search result too. No, that's not true, but
I don't know if it's true or not. Is it not true? Someone told me that.
I mean, that makes sense. There was a joke on that show on HBO, Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
it's the hardest hardest I remember laughing in a long time.
Was it the compression algorithm when they figured it out?
No, that was good too. No, but it's where that guy who owns the house, in like
Erlich Bachman,
where they're telling Erlich, 70 or 37% of the content or on the internet is porn every day, and he's like. He goes 38 when I'm on.
That is good.
Sorry, I can't even say the joke.
38 when he's on. So it was 37, but when he gets online, it's 38.
Yeah, it's 38.
Because of the quantity of
he's got all these tabs open.
Yeah. So you think it can get past it? I mean, so for example, if I told you and our massive audience I'm on OnlyFans, I know what you're going to assume, right? So that's real stigma. If Fat Joe tells you he's on OnlyFans, that's weird because of what you assume. Do you think it can overcome that, or do you think it's just, kind of like the live journal that's going to be eaten up by a Facebook?
I think it can overcome it, and honestly, I feel like people aren't as I guess I want to say prude when it comes to stuff like that as they were like 10 years ago. From what I've seen, it seems like people are starting to loosen up a lot. So if you told me you had an OnlyFans, I would probably just ask, so what do you do on OnlyFans? Like, just because I wouldn't know. There's people that do other things on there. Like, so, and you just, you do have the mustache for it, but
I know.
I don't think that I would assume that.
Okay. Well, you would assume that. Come on, you would assume that.
So I have the opposite.
Well, maybe you know me well enough. You know me well enough.
A little bit, and that's why I would ask the question. But I think, but here's the thing: if you were I don't know, like action film director, and you had an OnlyFans, I would probably assume that you're gonna have movies on there, like little short films or something that aren't necessarily pornographic. If you were a musician on there, I would most likely think it's gonna be content about your music and maybe just your life and stuff because you have fans. Okay. If you were just some random girl that I know who's doesn't
or guy or gender neutral person
that I know that doesn't do anything that I could picture being on OnlyFans, I would probably make that assumption. But if you were
like the default
then I'd be like, it just depends on what I think a person is likely to be doing that people.
So you think this one can? You think OnlyFans can go the distance?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah. Josh, do you have the opposite opinion?
I have the opposite opinion, and because I think if like all the situations you laid out, I was like, oh yeah, the artist, the movie maker, they're all making adult content in my mind. If you say like OnlyFans, or that's what they would be trying to do at least. And I was going to ask Trevor this. I was actually kind of surprised that other industries haven't used it, or like genres of film haven't used it for other things. Like you said, there was a comedian on it. I kind of expected there to be more comedians on it by now, just because of the way you pay for content and all that. I think that's pretty unique and valuable. What I think they probably should do is something like I think it's Match.com. I forget, where like all these different dating websites have the same parent company and they all use the same similar platform.
Oh, like I see what you're saying.
Yeah, OnlyFans is adult content, only.
So just have another platform that's basically the same exact same.
Yeah. No one knew like
geared
Farmers
towards
Only.
A different niche audience.
Yeah. Because no one knew Farmers Only and like Christian Mingle were the same company.
What?
I don't know if those two are, but you know what I mean. But like have something like that where you have very narrow customer base, and you just make a product that's just for those people. Like maybe it is a comedian one or something.
Actually, I like that idea.
That's a good point. I think that seems like a right solution. Well, and I think to address what you said about comedy, just because I'm a big comedy and podcast fan, that you've seen a huge switch towards comedians going to YouTube, podcasters going to YouTube, unless they've signed exclusive deals with Spotify. But then what they'll do to generate even more revenue beyond ad revenue and sponsorship revenue is they'll release directly their own specials, right? So you go to their website and you can rent the special for X number of dollars. And so they've completely bypassed the Netflix, Hulu, whatever. They still will do specials and content on those platforms in the way that Wayne described earlier, just to gain exposure. But really, they get a lot more money when they do more content direct to consumer. So I think what you'll see is some platform that'll facilitate that in the future, instead of all these people because previously it's been really expensive for them because they have to like figure out all the web hosting. They have a lot of issues when a special is more successful than they thought because the traffic crashed the server. They have to negotiate these. They're kind of in the Wild West. So I think you're right. I think eventually you'll see it. They've been trying to do it on their own. It's probably time that you have a comedy platform that swoops in and does it. So I think that makes sense.
Hey,
I like that idea.
You guys want to start a business?
I'm in.
Need a programmer. You know what? I know a guy.
That almost sounds like a business school joke. We can massage that and make that into a joke. Like, hey guys, I've got a great business idea, but all we need is a programmer. But I mean, I think someone's going to make money, and I guarantee you, there's some private equity firm behind OnlyFans now. I mean, it's private, so we don't know who's probably going to do that. To be honest, I think the most important takeaways for me from what you all said tonight, we can say this before we wrap up because we've been going for a while, is Wayne's idea of aggregator platforms introduce consumers to content, and then these narrowcast direct-to-consumer platforms is where they make their money. And then Josh's idea that maybe the stigma of OnlyFans doesn't need to be overcome because you can literally just clone the platform, target it towards a different niche, like say comedians in the future, and you're in great shape. And I think it's a win-win because it's easier for those people. They don't have to pay to build a team to figure out and get all these different partners to make it direct to consumer happen. So I like that. Any final thoughts before we move on to our last and final? That's just the same thing. Last segment.
Clubhouse was a VC-backed company.
Well,
that's how they got big, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that. I want to check it out. Maybe Wayne will be.
I'll try to figure out how to invite you guys. We can have a heat that moves discussion.
That'd be good. That'd be really good.
Yeah, I like that.
Maybe
we can do that for our audience.
Yeah, have like a live audience, or have like invite a couple people into our discussion, and we could just post it.
Yeah,
I'll call up Elon for a little bit. Have him as guest speaker.
I hit him up and be like, "Hey, you want to be in our on our podcast?" And we're like, "How many followers you guys have?" Like, we're in the double digits.
Yeah, it's hard to know for sure.
We're pretty exclusive. Yeah. Our clientele, we have a very small clientele.
Yeah, it's very
select.
Very targeted.
Yeah. So for our last segment, we don't have anything prepped, but this last segment's called Yay or Nay. And what we're going to do is somebody's going to toss out any subject. And we're each going to say yay or nay, or there's a third middle category if you want to be that way. We got to say why also. Wayne, you want to toss out a topic that we got a yay or nay?
All right. Disney Plus. What do you guys think? Is it worth it? Do you guys have it? And if so, what are you watching?
Nay.
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 Why nay? Okay. What?
No, it's a waste of money for Disney and consumers. They just don't have the content base. It's kind of like Apple TV Plus. Like, content base is not there to make it worth it. I had it. I would just remember this. I had it because I got it free with my Verizon phone service for a year. I watched the first half of the first season of The Mandalorian. I'm a Disney fan. I'm sorry, I'm not a Disney fan. Well, sometimes.
Yeah, you are.
I'm a Star Wars fan. It was okay. I tried to get into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, of which I was not a fan already. There's too many movies to get caught up on, and I canceled it. So I'm nay. I just don't think they have broad enough content base. But also, I'm not a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan or big into, Disney movie nostalgia. And I liked when I was a kid. So that's why I'm nay.
Yeah.
I was going to say nay, but I would understand if you were a yay because for the same reason. I was like, I enjoy the content currently on Disney Plus, but there is not enough right now. And I was going to have a qualified yay. Like in the future,
okay,
you should totally get Disney Plus to see all the Star Wars and like Marvel content they're going to create.
Yeah, they're making a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's crazy.
But you get it bundled with Hulu and ESPN Plus. So for me, it's
not that much.
I guess that is a yay. but Disney Plus
Oh
has
yeah.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I didn't do that because I don't
alone.
watch sports. But if you like that combo of things, that's a pretty good deal from what I understand.
Yeah.
Wayne, what's your
I'm a
you're-
yay. I'm a
you're
yay. And so I'm a yay for a few reasons. First off, I like the fact that I can just randomly decide to watch some like old random Disney movie I haven't seen since I was 7. You know, like it happens on occasion, and they have a decent amount of content even now, and the stuff they've been coming out with has been pretty good. Like I've been kind of into WandaVision. It's an interesting
that
show.
red guy.
Yeah, it's got Vision,
Redman.
Wanda, and stuff. But it's actually really interesting, and I have a lot of questions about that show just based on the way that it's structured. I'm not going to ruin anything, but I'm just wondering, like, okay, is this person real or fake, or how does this work? Because it's a very different show. Like literally every episode up to this point has taken place in like a different decade sitcom type setting. Right?
Oh, that's what I've heard. Yeah,
it's kind of weird, but then there's also stuff going on outside of this bubble that they're in that's like normal present day.
Oh, okay.
But there's
Dude,
a lot.
Don't spoil it, man.
There's a lot of questions about like what's going on. I'm not spoiling it.
Okay.
That's stuff that you would know from just watching a commercial.
All right.
But it's just there's a lot of questions where I'm just like, how does that work? What happens when this happens?
Well, I wonder if you could if you could contact their support for those sorts of questions, because I mean,
like
just to see,
contact like Disney and like so
Disney Plus support,
Disney Plus support. What's the deal? What's the deal with Vision?
Yeah, like press 1 for billing, press 2 for you might try it. I mean, I don't know. I don't run their support.
And also, I like a lot of the Star Wars stuff on there too. Like I got to watch like all the old Star Wars movies and stuff like that. There's a lot of good things that's playing in the background, and plus Hulu. So that's what I have instead of cable. Is Hulu. Yeah, it's a different era, man. Wow, what an episode, everybody! Good job.
Congratulations.
I'm trying to wrap up here, Wayne.
Oh yeah, we ran the gamut.
I know, this was good. I mean, we're pushing an hour 40.
Covered a lot.
Yeah, good job to all of you. Thank you to the listeners. What other wrap-up statements do y'all have? Bye.
Smash that like button.
Oh yeah. Smash that like button and subscribe.
Yeah. And find us on what are the audio platforms that we're on, Wayne? Of course,
and
YouTube.
We're on basically everything that get us where you get podcasts at. Yep. So anyway, we're not on Clubhouse yet, but if Wayne opens up his heart and lets us in, it might be. But for now, YouTube and podcast platforms. All right. That's good.
Peace, guys.
Bye, guys.